Hi guys, welcome to ANIMEized. This is the English translated version of the novel Throne of Seal. The novel differs slightly from the Chinese animation or donghua. If you want more of these videos, please smash the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. Enjoy and have a blessed day.
However, this doesn't make the others feel discouraged, because, with longhaochen's growth, their own growth rate is continuously increasing. Everyone can feel it distinctly. Longhaochen's rapid improvement in strength is undeniable, but after his strength increases, the good things he can obtain also continuously increase, and what he gains, he shares with his companions without reservation. Therefore, not only do others not envy his rapid progress, but they are more willing to see him become stronger, because, having a captain like him, all they need to do is constantly follow Longhaochen's lead and improve themselves. We continue forward. Longhaochen's voice brings everyone back from their thoughts, and each person can't help but show surprise. The green skeleton Holy Guard number 10 has been conquered. Continue forward? Isn't that challenging the final level of the Tower of Eternity's second floor? With the submission of Holy Guard number 10, the distant statues have become clearer. Based on the experience from the first floor, undoubtedly, there's only the final challenge left on the second floor. Longhaochen turns around and explains. I have confidence in passing the final challenge. In the Dark Swamp, we have encountered powerful opponents several times before, and next, we'll face the Snake Demon God Endemily. Now, only by passing through the Tower of Eternity can we directly enhance our strength. If I'm not mistaken, what we'll face next is Holy Guard number 9. If his attributes are as I suspect, then, in the deathly realm of the Dark Swamp, the help for us will be absolutely significant. Boss, let's do it. Shima Xian vigorously waves his fist at Longhaochen. Longhaochen smiles faintly, spreads his forewings, handing blue rain, light lotus to his left hand, while golden light gleams in his right hand, and hymn of the goddess of light appears once again in his grasp. It can be said that, at this moment, Longhaochen is in his strongest equipped form. A pair of legendary giant swords in his hands, even just by looking at them, one can feel their terrifying attack power. Flying forward slowly, Longhaochen's heart becomes unusually calm at this moment. Because of the sword strike full of sword intent just now, at that moment, he seems to have gained some special insights. He can't quite articulate what this insight is, but he knows that he has ascended to a higher level in understanding sword intent, seemingly approaching the realm of the former sword god Ye Wuxian. This can be sensed from the approval of him of the goddess of light towards him. The massive statue gradually becomes clearer, identical to the first floor. If not for the misty clouds around, everyone would think they had reached the end of the first floor. The statues of Necromancer Saint and Dormant Catastrophe Illisec silently float in the mist's embrace. In front of them, a tall skeleton sits cross-legged. This skeleton is entirely presented in an earthy yellow color. And when Longhaochen and the others see him, a faint yellow light has already started emanating from his body. A hint of joy appears in Longhaochen's eyes. Indeed, he is about to face the soul of a strong one, Holy Guard number 9. Moreover, the attributes of this Holy Guard number 9 are as he expected. It's Earth, an Earth attribute. Although Longhaochen doesn't know why Dormant Catastrophe Illisec set an Earth attribute Holy Guard as the final challenge on this aerial combat level, his vigilance is even more heightened than when facing the green skeleton. If we set aside the identity of the Necromancer, Longhaochen has to admit, he is sincerely impressed by Dormant Catastrophe Illisec. To construct a miraculous place like the Tower of Eternity, an ancestor capable of generating such immense power even after thousands of years, how much wisdom must they have? Although Longhaochen is intelligent, he admits to himself, compared to Illisec, at least his current self is far from sufficient, too insignificant. Therefore, he can be certain, since Illisec has chosen the Earth attribute Holy Guard number 9 to guard the final challenge of the second floor, there must be a reason behind it. Illisec's statue stands silently there, as if gazing at everyone. And the Earth attribute yellow skeleton slowly stands up from a cross-legged position. His height is similar to that of red skeleton Holy Guard number 12, but his body is much more robust, and his shoulders are broader. He gives off a solid and stable feeling, like a mountain. A faint yellow light shines behind him, and two earthy yellow bone wings unfold, maintaining the suspension of his body. Bright yellow light suddenly descends from the sky, and two clusters emitting a faint white light also blossom from his eye sockets. It's white, not yellow. Longhaochen looks at it in amazement, and for a moment, some thoughts arise in his mind. This yellow skeleton probably possesses extraordinary strength. Perhaps it has already surpassed the 7th rank. While he is contemplating, the yellow skeleton has already raised its hands, and at the same time, a yellow barrier appears in front of Longhaochen. Gentle force silently pushes him 10 meters away. Then, the yellow light, like surging waves, not only enveloping him, but also enveloping everyone behind him, including those based on Hao. In that instant, the entire mist of the second floor of the Tower of Eternity turns yellow. An indescribable force of terror suddenly appears in the air, crazily pulling their bodies downward. Gravity. Longhaochen instantly understands the ability that the yellow skeleton is using. This should be the lost gravity magic of the Earth Mage. Astonished, longhaochen flaps his four wings with all his might, attempting to stabilize his own figure. However, this gravity magic is more powerful than he imagined, and with his current more than 14,000 spiritual power, he can't stabilize his body, still being pulled downward bit by bit. On the other side, Haoyu is even worse off, its body being so massive, its own weight is already astonishing, coupled with its massive volume, its falling speed is faster than longhaochen's. Fortunately, the reactions of the others are not slow, except for Cai Er, everyone forcefully hugs Haoyu's body, then releases their spiritual wings, jointly resisting this immense gravity with Haoyu, barely stabilizing Haoyu's falling figure. The gaze of the yellow skeleton appears somewhat cold, even indifferent, silently watching the people in front of him. In his soul of a strong one, longhaochen sees a sense of pride. This is something that the previous 3 holy guards did not show. At this moment, the yellow skeleton clearly disdains to make another move against them, as in his view, he and his companions are unable to contend with this gravity magic. In fact, this is indeed the case. Longhaochen clearly feels that his spiritual power is being consumed at an astonishing rate. If this continues, in no time, he and his companions will fall to the first floor of the Tower of Eternity, and what's more important, his companion's spiritual power will be depleted, and it cannot be restored within the Tower of Eternity, which will affect their subsequent plans. Haoyu, take them back to the first floor. Plans cannot keep up with changes. Longhaochen makes a decisive decision, although he still has a trump card, but he is hesitating whether to use it at this moment, as using it would require time for rest and adjustment. However, just at this moment, suddenly, a tranquil gray light bursts through the air. The gray light is crystal clear but not bright, like a gray ribbon appearing across the sky. A pair of black wings flap behind, carrying that crystal clear gray light. Cai Er's body appears as if floating snow, completely unaffected by gravity, instantly arriving in front of the yellow skeleton. The death side sweeps out with terrifying cold light, instantly shrouding the body of the yellow skeleton. All of this happens very suddenly, even though Cai Er's speed cannot compare to the green skeleton Holy Guard number 10, but it's also approaching a certain extent. Without a doubt, the yellow skeleton is more humanized than the 3 holy guards before. He will be proud, satisfied with himself, and filled with self-confidence. In his view, the present strengths are simply incapable of resisting his gravity technique. But precisely because of this, his arrogance has brought about a vulnerability. Cai Er's body is completely unaffected by the gravity technique. In the instant she flies out, the yellow skeleton feels as if the entire space is torn apart by her body. The next moment, a murderous intent appears right in front of him. Longhaochen is equally astonished. He could never have expected Cai Er will make a move at this moment, and completely ignores the threat brought by the gravity technique. When Cai Er swings her death god's scythe, the coldness in her eyes seems to let Longhaochen see his Cai Er returning. This is more shocking and delightful to Longhaochen than Cai Er's powerful attack. Cai Er, has my Cai Er come back again? Longhaochen has a warm feeling in his eyes at this moment, as if tears are about to flow out in the next moment. The strength of the yellow skeleton is just as Longhaochen judged before. Cai Er's arrival is very sudden, but his arrogance is also reasonable. While the body instantly retreats, a 1-second earth wall has risen without any warning. Although shattered by the attack of the death god's scythe, it has also brought him a buffer time. But in the next instant, Cai Er's body disappeared along with her terrifying killing intent, vanishing without a trace. The yellow skeleton was slightly stunned, but his actions did not stop. This is the strength of the holy guards. Their combat instincts are almost ingrained in their bones. Regardless of when, even before thought arrives, the body's instinct has already taken action. The heavy and powerful palms suddenly collided, immediately, with the yellow skeleton at the center. A solid yellow light shield spread out. It's somewhat like a fire magic-resistant firewall, but this one is not just all-encompassing, its power is also significantly stronger. At least it's a 6th-rank integrated earth magic for offense and defense. Moreover, don't forget, it can be activated instantly. At the same time the magic was cast, a pitch-black figure quietly appeared behind him, and the crystalline gray suddenly shimmered. Following that, a sound like the tearing of silk echoed in the air. The death god's scythe let out a sharp wail, and Cai Er's delicate figure unexpectedly squeezed through the crack. Immediately after, a death symbol, much larger than its own size, appeared on the yellow skeleton. A death symbol completely outlined by crystalline gray. The black figure flashed and disappeared. The powerful gravity around instantly vanished. When Cai Er landed again on Haoyu's back, the cold and fierce killing intent on her disappeared in an instant, leaving only those blinking, confused large eyes staring ahead. Those big eyes, now blank and somewhat puzzled, looked ahead. It seemed she had no idea what she had just done. Everyone was a bit stunned. Even Haoyu, with its 5 big heads and its 5 big-eyed gazes, all showed expressions of astonishment. The gray death symbols gradually receded, and the yellow skeleton reappeared in everyone's sight. However, the yellow flames in its eye sockets had ceased dancing. Immediately after, on its body, breaking apart into pieces like that, turning into yellow dust dissipating in the air. A brilliant yellow light descended from the sky, enveloping the yellow skeleton within, completely solidifying its body, and this time, the duration was much longer than when longhaochen and the others defeated Holy Guard 11 and 12 on the first floor. After nearly a quarter of an hour, the body of the yellow skeleton finally solidified again, but the yellow flames in its eye sockets were noticeably dimmer than before. It looked at Cai Er, who stood in confusion on HaoChen's back, with a somewhat shocked expression, pausing for a moment, as if a frightened human taking a deep breath to calm themselves. Then, it slowly bowed towards longhaochen. "Master, Holy Guard number 9 is willing to serve you." Compared to the previous 3 Holy Guards, his voice is much clearer, but it is also weaker. As the words fell, Holy Guard number 9 has already transformed into a yellow stream of light, directly flying towards longhaochen, merging into the eternal melody. The eternal melody heated up for a moment, intense golden light flickering continuously at longhaochen's chest. Longhaochen could feel as if Holy Guard number 9 was absorbing the energy stored in the eternal melody to repair itself. A similar situation occurred last time after Holy Guard 11 and 12 were severely damaged, but it wasn't as pronounced as this, indicating how severe the injuries Holy Guard number 9 received from Cai Er were. Even the Tower of Eternity cannot fully repair his body. Moreover, suddenly, a thought from Yesiele came to longhaochen's mind. As a god's chosen one of the Death God, Cai Er inherited the power of the Death God's salvation, and the ultimate power of the Death God is indeed salvation. Perhaps the soul of Holy Guard number 9, the yellow skeleton, has suffered significant trauma. Hence, it appears so languid. Has Cai Er's power truly become this formidable? Just now, Cai Er's final strike undoubtedly revealed her immense strength after completing the awakening as the chosen one of the god. That seems like a skill, but it doesn't seem like a skill, since the reincarnation sword transformed into the Death God's scythe, becoming Cai Er's regular weapon. Longhaochen couldn't be sure of the true extent of her strength. At least, from that strike just now, longhaochen questioned himself. If he had to block it himself, he would not only have to use his sword intent with all his might, but he might even need the assistance of the Goddess of Light to withstand it. It is possible, but not certain. This doesn't mean that Cai Er's inherent strength is greater than longhaochen's, quite the opposite. Her current personal strength is inferior to longhaochen by quite a bit. However, Cai Er's spirit, furnace and the weapon in her hand are exceptionally powerful. The Death God's scythe transformed from the reincarnation sword is truly a divine artifact. Even the awakened Cai Er cannot fully unleash its power now. With 4 wings flapping behind her, longhaochen approached Cai Er. "Cai Er, how do you feel? Are you okay?" After displaying such immense power just now, longhaochen's greatest fear was that she might suffer a backlash. Cai Er muttered, "Death God 7 absolutes, first absolute, lament of death." Longhaochen took a deep breath. He understood. Cai Er's Death God 7 absolutes and her original use of the reincarnation spirit furnace lead to the same outcome, just with greater power. Before he could ask, Cai Er had already looked up at him and said, "I'm fine, I just felt a bit suppressed just now, and then it happened like that. I just felt that, if I continued using that kind of power, I might lose something. Fortunately, it stopped after just 1 use." Longhaochen knew Cai Er very well, and hearing her explanation, he immediately felt relieved, and at the same time, he understood a bit about the mystery of her Death God's 7 absolutes. "Cai Er, listen to me." Longhaochen looked at her earnestly, his hands, which had already put away his dual swords, held onto her shoulders. "The power you just used must not be used lightly. Moreover, even if you use it, it should only be that first strike from just now. Do you understand? Otherwise, there is a risk of losing your senses. The reason why there was no backlash after using the first strike was because of the fusion of the spirit furnace in your body. But you must not use it lightly. Only use it when absolutely necessary. You must listen to me, okay?" Cai Er looked at the deep concern in longhaochen's eyes. Feeling warmth in her heart, she nodded obediently. But in her heart, she still lingered on the powerful force she had just displayed. Vaguely, she also gained some insight into herself. At least, her body, after losing memory, has become somewhat more familiar with her own abilities. At this moment, the statue in front suddenly brightened, and a soft, golden light quietly bloomed. The statue seemed to come to life, and a massive soul fluctuation instantly made everyone present feel a heavy pressure like Mount Tai. "Congratulations, child, the second level's assessment has been passed. You can continue forward. I am waiting for you on the final path. Being able to pass the second level, you already have the ability to protect yourself. However, to truly inherit my legacy, your current strength is still far from enough. You need to become stronger and more determined. Only with unwavering determination can you ultimately reach the other shore. I am waiting for you on the other shore. The road ahead must be climbed with your own strength until you reach the 6th level. Apart from the Holy Guard, I will not give you any other rewards. I firmly believe that you will surely come to my side." Puff. A pillar of golden light suddenly soared into the sky, as if piercing the sky, also piercing the boundary of the Tower of Eternity's second level. It became the passage connecting to the third level. Watching that straight golden light ascend, longhaochen felt a slight disappointment in his heart. Originally thinking in this level, there would be no enhancement of their spiritual power, and they would receive rewards like equipment. But things didn't go as expected. In the end, apart from the 2 holy guards, there was no other help. However, disappointment was only a momentary feeling, and soon longhaochen came to terms with it. Giving a man a fish is not as good as teaching him to fish. In this second level, they have already learned the skill of aerial combat, isn't this more important than any equipment? Moreover, with the help of the 2 holy guards, their team's overall strength probably has surpassed most royal-level demon hunting squads. Of course, the 9th holy guard of the earth element probably needs some rest. Previously, when facing Cai Er, his power obviously didn't fully come into play, simply because all his abilities were effectively restrained by Cai Er's overwhelming death god power, coupled with underestimating the enemy. He ultimately perished under Cai Er's 7-fold death god's abilities. The light in the dim swamp remained as dim as ever. Nearing evening, the toxic mist in the air became increasingly dense. Perhaps the only pristine land here is the small lake inhabited by sawfish, where clear lake water occasionally ripples gently. The lake is not very deep, approximately only about 2 or 3 meters deep. If one could look down from above the lake, one would discover that there is occasionally a faint silver light gliding beneath the water's surface. Although sawfish look fierce, in reality, they are herbivorous magical beasts, and have no interest in meat. The abundant aquatic plants in the lake and the flexible vines in the swamp are their preferred food. When they need to eat, the sawfish group becomes active, and silver lights can be seen flashing everywhere along the lake shore, their forms unclear, but one can see sturdy vines being cut into pieces, and then disappearing. The feeding process often doesn't last long, because their speed is truly too fast. Then, the lake water will become quiet. Unlike other magical beasts, the sawfish population distinguishes strength not by size but by the size of the flexible silverback skin. They don't distinguish based on volume, but by the size of the flexible silverback skin on their back to determine who is more powerful. Therefore, the stronger the silver light, the more powerful the sawfish. Their strength increases accordingly. Adult sawfish are all 8th level magical beasts. Some with innate talent can reach the 9th level. The true kings are genuine 10th level magical beasts, even causing the king of the forest serpents to retreat in awe. It is one of the true rulers of this swamp, making even the king of the forest serpents hesitate. It is also one of the true overlords of this swamp. A faint golden light quietly appeared not far from the sawfish lake, and a soft, golden light shield expanded to a diameter of about 2 meters. Following that, figures separated from it, each immediately releasing their own spiritual wings. Longhaochen pointed to the sky. The group quietly rose. This time Longhaochen did not release the holy light shield. Each person forcefully released their spiritual power to resist the swamp's poison outside their bodies. This undoubtedly increased their consumption significantly, but there was no need to gather together again. Longhaochen nodded to everyone. In the thick fog, they quickly dispersed. Red, blue, and green lights appeared in front of Longhaochen the next moment. They nodded slightly to him. Longhaochen gave some instructions to the green Holy Guard number 10. Holy Guard number 10 nodded, and with a light flap of his 6 wings, he flew out like a green lightning. At this moment, only Cai Er, Shima Xian, and Wan Yuanyuan remained by Longhaochen's side. Cai Er didn't participate in this action at all. Lin Xin and Han Yu, on the other hand, disappeared. Even Hao Yu quietly flew away after appearing. It didn't even use its toxin resistance ability. It followed Lin Xin and Han Yu. Longhaochen nodded to the 3 people beside him and Holy Guards number 11 and number 12. Prepared to start. As he spoke, he slowly raised the dual heavy swords in his hands, and both swords gradually turned white. Longhaochen himself also entered a peculiar state. They were all about 20 meters above the ground, just the maximum height an ordinary sawfish could jump. As determined by Longhaochen during the previous battle with the sawfish, the clear little lake where the sawfish dwelled was gradually becoming quiet at this time, accompanying the arrival of evening. The sawfish in the lake had all become quiet, having passed their feeding time, and most of them had already fallen into a deep sleep. Sawfish, in general, were creatures that loved to sleep, although they were highly aggressive. But territorial instincts were even stronger. They wouldn't easily leave their habitat, unless they encountered a situation like the one with Longhaochen and the others today. Unfortunately, Hao Yu's attacks were undoubtedly seen by them as the most intense provocation, something they would not tolerate. Unfortunately, under the peculiar teleportation ability of Longhaochen's eternal melody, they lost their target, even if they were in a bad mood. What use was there inventing without a target? After wreaking havoc on the surrounding vegetation for a while, they reluctantly returned to the small lake, and it was at this moment, another uninvited guest arrived. A serene light silently stopped about 30 meters from the lake. His figure perfectly obscured by a tall vine. Not a trace of breath leaked. Blue flames flickered in his eye sockets, scanning everything in front of him. Pausing slightly, the blue flames in his eyes suddenly fluctuated violently, as if receiving a signal. After a brief pause, Holy Guard number 10 thought for a moment, and his peculiar short swords appeared in his grasp. With a flicker, his 6 wings fluctuated strangely, and his body had already reached the edge of the lake. His short swords made a cross motion in front of him. 2 dismal green lights flew straight towards the clear little lake. Those 2 green lights brought out a piercing roar. A sharp aura erupted instantly. They did not directly hit the water in the lake, but collided with each other on the lake's surface. Instantly, a green whirlwind with a diameter of over a meter descended onto the clear lake's surface. Boom! A massive column of water splashed up in an instant. Even several sleeping sawfish were rolled up by the water column, and you could clearly see the green whirlwind actually sank into the water, emitting a dazzling green light. And the surrounding water was completely stirred up, actually forming a vortex in the water. Holy Guard number 10 did not leave. Instead, he let out a sharp roar, and his pair of short swords swung once again. 2 green lights shimmered in the air, the radiance collided, and another green cyclone fell into the lake. This really stirred things up. Dozens of silver lights suddenly soared from the nearest edge of the lake, like silver lightning bolts heading straight for Holy Guard number 10. The blue flames in Holy Guard number 10's eyes flickered, and his body instantly flashed backward, just a clever maneuver, easily avoiding the foremost silver light. Then, with his actions, he showcased his dominance in the air to the sawfish. His green body seemed completely unaffected by gravity, completing 9 consecutive turns in the air, each time narrowly avoiding the attacks of the sawfish, and moreover, his jumping height was only 3 meters. Dazzling green light flickered, and in just a moment, dozens of sawfish on the shore were left behind. They crazily chased after the green figure. However, even with such a large number, and such high speed, they couldn't do anything to Holy Guard number 10, in terms of speed. Holy Guard number 10 was absolutely fearless. Unless they encountered a 9th rank expert controlling the entire airspace, his speed was the strongest in the world. Faced with these sawfish combining spatial and wind attributes, he moved through the air as if taking a leisurely stroll in the garden, constantly making high-difficulty evasive maneuvers, often narrowly dodging the attacks of the sawfish at the last moment, and with these actions, slowly moving away to a farther place. The departure speed wasn't fast, but the number of attracted sawfish was quite significant. In the air, the spiritual power fluctuations of wind and space were extremely intense, to the point that the swamp's toxic mist was torn into pieces. The sawfish's ability to eliminate all impurities on their bodies was fully demonstrated, and the toxic mist couldn't get close to them at all. Each time it seemed like their siege would crush Holy Guard number 10, but in the end, he still broke free from the encirclement with that green lightning. The sawfish became furious, encountering such provocative behavior for the first time, and what's more, this provocateur could escape from their encirclement time and time again. A faint green light suddenly changed its flying pattern, shifting from constant evasions to a direct flight. At this moment, only then did Holy Guard number 10 fully display his speed, which was truly as swift as lightning. In just an instant, he distanced himself from the sawfish behind him. The green light swept past, and in an instant, it actually disappeared. The sawfish swarm crazily chased after, but they could only watch as the green light went far away, helpless to do anything. How was it the same as the situation in the afternoon? The sawfish didn't roar, but the killing intent emanating from them was real. Countless vines suffered. After a series of rampages, it seemed they couldn't catch up with the green figure, so they reluctantly withdrew towards their nesting grounds. The withdrawal speed was naturally not as fast as when pursuing an enemy, and watching this, most of the sawfish had already flown past. But the speed of those at the back had decreased. Just at this moment, suddenly, 2 dazzling golden lights, like chains, descended from the sky. In midair, that rich golden color was as dazzling as fireworks. This figure landed directly behind the sawfish group. In midair, a soft, golden light and shadow flashed. The light and shadow were at least 10 meters high, and the specific appearance couldn't be discerned. But when she appeared in that moment, it seemed like all the darkness in the gloomy swamp had been dispelled, leaving only endless purity and light.